Welcome back everybody to the Collect Comms channel here. We're back tonight for the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. This obviously being round 15 of this 24 round season for season 14. And as you can see, we're back here at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix here tonight. Top of the leaderboard by quite some way as well. 3/10 is currently the gap to Justify, so Scott really is blazing a trail so far. As we said, Justify 3/10 behind in second place. You've got Mark currently 7/10 off of the pole time in third place, with C Faulkner sat in P4. Although saying that, G.C. just moved up into third place there with that last lap, so good luck there from G.C. right in the mix. Although a little way off of the provisional pole sitter at the moment. You've got Matty currently P6 just leaving the pits. Drauga in 7th place on an out lap at the moment. Rexy so far. John's just coming into the pits, having done the 9th fastest time so far in the session. Truckee in 10th. Glenn is just coming over the line and has gone second place with his first flying lap of the session here. So very, very solid there from Glenn, only 2/10 off of the fastest time. The reigning champion and championship leader here. Justify on the back foot a little bit after a not so great run of form in the last few races. He'll definitely be looking to try and bounce back here tonight, as he's just coming into the pits at the end of this particular run. Oliver's just gone into 6th place with that last lap of his. Rexy Boy's backed out of it through the middle sector, so it's not going to be an improvement here for Rexy Boy. Must have made a mistake through that middle sector. White Shadow Hole just coming to the final corner. Let's see what White Shadow Hole's able to put on the board here as he comes over the line, and P11 there, so moves ahead of John and Truckee. Ruck, Street Boy and T all still get set lap times here in this session, so we'll be seeing that, I'm sure, over the course of the remainder of this session. But for the time being, it is Scott who is really going great guns so far here tonight. It's a fantastic lap from Scott. Only driver in the 110 so far. We've got Cameron in the comments, as well as G.C. G.C. obviously racing here tonight, but giving us a shout on the stream anyway. Currently in P4 right now is G.C. Has had a very strong season. If there's going to be one thing that he hasn't had this season, he's had a lot of pace and he's had some really good results, but consistency hasn't always been there. Also, he hasn't always been able to turn up to the races either, so he's missed a couple of rounds, which is going to affect his points in the championship. But I tell you what, he's one of the most improved drivers on this F1 25 game. He's definitely one of the contenders every week here, I have to say. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he's one of the big guns in this Purple Sector F1 League now. So, yeah, he's really come on leaps and bounds over this season, and currently in 4th place at the moment. Was 2/10 off in the middle sector. Let's see what G.C. is doing. Is he coming into the pits this lap, or is he going to keep it foot to the floor? No, he's going to come into the pits, so that's his run done. Drauga's gone into 4th place, so pushes G.C. down a position there. Drauga now only half a second off of the fastest time set by Scott, so very, very solid there from the Haas driver. Currently provisionally sat on the front 2 rows here. Mark's gone into 6th on a 110.6. Who else has done a lap since? I'm not quite sure. I don't think anybody else has at the moment. Matty coming up towards the line. What can he do? Solid from Matty. P9 at the moment. Street Boy's just coming through the first sector, so we'll keep an eye on him in a moment. We've got Ruck coming through into the final corner. So currently yet to set a lap here is Ruck. This will be his first flying lap of the session. And what can Ruck put on the board here? It keeps a wide line out of the final corner. That tells you he's on a lap. And Ruck to the line, and it is P10 at the moment for Ruck. So plenty left to be desired for Ruck in this session at the moment. We've got T over the line and goes into 7th place. So lovely lap there from T, and well in the mix there. Only 6/10 off for the fastest time being set by this man here, who's currently back out onto the track and ready to go for another run here to try and rub salt in the wounds and extend his pole position margin here. Mark has gone into 2nd place as well, which is a scorcher. Was that his 2nd flying lap there? I think it may well have been, because I thought he'd just done a lap, but he's now gone into 2nd place and improved. So he's only 2/10 off for the fastest time. He's ahead of Ken and Justify. So right now, Mark is really delivering the goods here in this session. But Scott here coming over the line to start a lap, so he's going to be going for another run here. He's the provisional pole sitter. Let's jump on board with him. He's been sort of up there or thereabouts in a lot of the races this season. Has had at least one win this season to his name, but in sort of compared to F124, hasn't been the force in the championship or in terms of the battle for the race wins that he was last season. So I'm sure that he'll be taking a lot of confidence from his current position in this qualifying session, but he'll want to make sure that he's able to improve as the track improves and continue to hold that advantage as everybody else's lap times get quicker over the course of the session. So Scott coming down towards the stadium section, towards the middle sector checkpoint, still slightly up on his personal best, which is currently good enough for pole position by 0.2 of a second. Into the final sector he goes. And just these final two corners, the two apexes left, this flat out right-hander to finish the lap. You're still going to be smooth through this corner. You can still lose time if you don't keep it smooth coming out of that banking, but Scott out of the final corner and comes into the pits. So must have messed up coming through the final sector there. And is going to stay on provisional pole, obviously. What about Glenn? Glenn's just starting a lap here at the moment. We've got Drauga and G.C. on out laps here. We've got Truckee on a flying lap, so let's see what Truckee's up to coming through towards the end of the first sector here. So who's further up out of Glenn and Truckee? I think it's Truckee. So Truckee will be over the line first out of these two. G.C. is back out on the track here on a flying lap as well. But we're currently watching Truckee here as he's coming towards the end of the middle sector, and he's backed out of his lap time there, so he's clearly doesn't feel he's on an improvement so far. Here's Glenn coming through the middle sector right now, and he's backed out of it as well. So a lot of drivers backing out of their laps here. We're not really seeing much follow through with these laps. G.C. a tenth down in the first sector. So it does appear that the track's getting worse for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why, but everybody's either messing up their laps or not going quicker. So I think that the track conditions must be deteriorating over the course of this session. But nonetheless, G.C. here coming into the final couple of corners, currently P6 here in this qualifying session, and he's oh look at that, he was all over the curb there, puts it into the wall as a result, and G.C. there's going to be into the pits at the end of this run. So I think it might have actually been down anyway, it might have been coming in anyway, but yeah, G.C. definitely, that's his lap done now, as Drauga is currently a tenth or 0.2 down for the middle sector, so or rather the first sector, so he should, I'm sure, not be seeing a lack of improvement at the end of this one, at the end of this lap. As T is coming through towards the end of the first sector here. Currently it's at P7 here in this qualifying session, 0.3 up through the first sector, so he's flying at the moment, is T. Are we going to be seeing a similar pattern here in the next couple of sectors? If we do, we could be seeing T on pole here. At the very least, he could be on the front two rows. So T is finding a lot of time out there on the track at the moment. Clearly, for him, the track is improving. For everyone else, it seems like it's getting worse. But for T, he's absolutely flying. 3.5 up for the middle sector. That will put him P3 at the moment. As long as he keeps it together for the final sector, he can find a bit of time. He might even be on the front row here. Here comes T then in the McLaren around the final banking here at Zandvoort. Currently 7th place in this session. He's not going to be 7th for long though. Where is this going to put him? It's going to put him right in the thick of it. I know that for sure. T over the line, P2. So 0.02 of a second quicker than Mark, and that's a lovely lap there from T. Puts it on the front row alongside Scott for the time being. Plenty of drivers out there who are going to be going for another crack at it. So he might not stay there, but he's got enough time to get himself in and then quickly back out again. So he'll want to be having a bit of a rush in on this in lap to be able to make sure he can get another lap in at the end of the session here. But T there with a very, very competitive time indeed. We've got Justify on a flying lap at the moment. We've got Mark on an out lap. Glenn still sat in the pits. So is Scott. These guys, I think Scott and Glenn are going to be leaving as late as they can to try and maximise their track conditions at the end of the session. So Justify here coming towards the end of the middle sector right now, and is 4 tenths up here through the middle sector. So Justify on course for pole position here, and that's even if he loses a tenth in the final sector. So Justify flying. Scott's going to be watching this. He's going to know he needs to get himself back out there ASAP. Clen also still in the box. So these guys in no rush at the moment. Justify over the line. Takes provisional pole position by a tenth and a half over Scott. So now the benchmark switches. And the driver who's second in the championship is now trying to gun down the other guys. So Clen's back out on the track anyway, as Mark has just gone into third place there. Has just done an improvement. So he's currently 5 thousandths behind Scott at the moment. Is Mark. That's a solid lap time there from him. Still a tenth and a half behind the provisional pole to Justify. Ruck is out of the session here, so has bailed out or has crashed out. Actually, looks like it's a crash because there's double wave yellow flags. So clearly it was an accident there for him. So Justify on an in lap, and I think his session's done because he went too late. So here we go then. The fight for pole is still on. This man here, Scott, was the long-time provisional pole sitter, now finds himself in second place behind Justify. Needs to find a tenth and a half at least, maybe 2 tenths if he wants to put it on pole here. Clen is also out there, the championship leader and reigning champion of this Purple Sector Formula 1 League. Scott is 3 tenths down through the first sector. That is not a good start to the lap here. He now needs to find half a second on his previous personal best if he's to have any chance of putting this one on pole here. So Scott needs to absolutely be scorching around for the final 2 sectors here. We've got Mango voicing support for Rexy Boy. Rexy Boy currently in P12 at the moment, but on an out lap, ready to go for another lap here at the end of this session. Scott still 2 tenths down through the middle sector. I don't think he's going to be on pole here. Clen has still got a chance. Is a tenth up through the first sector. That will currently put him at the moment ahead of Oliver into P4. Oliver has done a cracking lap into 4th place. That is a brilliant performance there from him, as Clen is now 3.5 tenths up through the middle sector. He now needs to find another tenth here through the final sector, and he'll be on pole position. So Clen around the final corner. Is it going to be another P1 here in qualifying at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League for Clen? Over the line he comes. He doesn't. He misses out by 0.03 of a second. So Justify still on pole there by not very much at all. T is out there currently finding 0.04 through the first sector, keeping an eye on the middle sector timing board here as he comes through. He'll be coming through the stadium section pretty shortly. Who else is on a lap here? G.C. down to P10 at the end of the session here. It was obviously high flying at the start of the session, but as the track ramped up, unfortunately he did not find the time. But T-Bone coming into the stadium section here for the final time in this session, 3 tenths up. I tell you what, he could be right in there. That is going to be on the cusp of pole position here. If he can maintain this pace through the final sector here, we could be seeing McLaren on pole here at the Dutch Grand Prix at Purple Sector. Around the final corner comes T. It's going to be pretty close here. As to the line he comes. I think he's lost a bit of time in the final sector. He has, and T there, unfortunately for him, will not be on pole here for tonight. So it's going to be Justify lining up on pole ahead of Clen in second, with Scott and the Mark on the second row. As Street Boy there says, "Yeah, boy." Street Boy qualifying P13 there with his teammate just in front of him. But yeah, good to see Street Boy chiming in there on the YouTube stream. So that looks like that's going to be that then. So Justify with a tight pole position there ahead of Clen. Only 0.03 of a second. There's not much in it at all. And Scott and Mark right behind them. Stay tuned for the race, guys. We're live in a couple of minutes.
formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres.
Here we are then, guys, getting ready to go for the Dutch Grand Prix here at the Pebble Sector Formula 1 League for season 14. It's season 15 for Red Arrows, the league I was commentating on last night. But yeah, this is obviously the Dutch Grand Prix. We're about to line up on the grid and moments away from the start. So here we go then, all eyes to the lights as the final car pulls up, and we should be ready to get going here at Zandvoort. And lights coming on ahead of the grid. We're about to go racing here for the Dutch Grand Prix here at Pebble Sector. It is lights out, we're underway. Good start from Glenn on the left-hand side, slightly better there than Justify. He's going to lead here coming into turn 1 down the inside, or is he? Because Justify goes very late on the brakes there, as we see a Mercedes there is off in the background. Sorry, an Aston Martin even. It was Oliver there who went off. Street Boy's also gone off and has dropped down to the back of the pack here, but Justify still leads ahead of Glenn right now, as T has gone ahead of Mark up into 4th place. C. Faulkner has gained 2 places here, and it looks like Ruck's dropping down the order as well. Didn't see what happened there to Ruck, but he's had a bit of a moment there. Don't know if there's any damage on the car. It looks like there's a front left end plate missing. So Rock in a bit of trouble here at the start of this race. We've got Truckee moving ahead of Oliver up into 13th place around the outside with a lovely move there, but Justify out the front here ahead of Glenn, having made that move through turns 1 and 2, was up the inside, obviously got the move completed coming out of turn 2. Rexy Boy in the meantime has moved ahead of Oliver up into 14th place, so Oliver going backwards here on this opening lap, and must be in real trouble with a bit of damage, I would assume, at this point, as Matty's moved ahead of G.C. as well up into 7th place on this opening lap. So lots of drama here in the first few corners, but it's Justify who comes through this final couple of corners here, leading the race ahead of Glenn. Not much between him at the moment, obviously at the end of the first lap, but Glenn keeping him honest so far. But Justify having got that lead into turn 1, that was a crucial move there for the driver currently second in the championship on his championship rival, as C. Fulton has got into the wall coming through the final corner. And the VSC is deployed as a result, so C. Fulton and Oliver both coming in for repairs. At the end of the first lap, we see Ruck's moved ahead of Truckee up into P10. Truckee is missing, no, he's not missing any of his car, so he's all good. But he's lost out there to Ruck, so Ruck into the points paying positions. VSC's been deployed. Oliver's left the session, so obviously after his calamity there in the opening lap, has decided he's not interested in longing it out in the hope of maybe a safety car being deployed. And he's sticking with it for the time being. So Justify out the front here, with Glenn in 2nd place and Scott and Mark rounding out the top 4 so far here in this race. Mark having got ahead of T in the opening few corners up into 4th place. And Justify, wow, Justify's got a drive through for speeding under the VSC. That is not what Justify needs at all, not with the championship swinging ever more in the favour of Glenn. We remember last season, those of you who didn't watch last season, I'll fill you in. Basically, Glenn, it was quite close to the championship for the first half of the season, with Glenn, the likes of Glenn and Davidoff, and Justify wasn't too far away. The second half of the season was where Glenn really excelled and took the championship by the scruff of the neck. It's been a similar story this season. Justify's been quick in the first part of the season, but Glenn in the last few races has really started to shine, and has obviously leads the championship at the moment, and so far is looking pretty good here. Justify's come in to serve that drive through at the first opportunity, so doesn't want to waste any time trying to play catch up later on. Ruck has now retired after being done for speeding in the pits. So that's now 2 retirements so far here in this race. Both of them, I'm pretty sure, were rage quits, which is not what you want to see, really, is it? But I know it's one of those things. I know sometimes our emotions get the better of us, but come on, guys, we're better than that, aren't we, surely? Truckee's moved ahead of Rexy Boy up into 9th place. So that's a move for position. Now Truckee can try and chase down White Shadow, who's currently running in P8, a few seconds behind the leaders. But here's Glenn out the front with gap just under a second over Scott, so Scott's keeping him on his toes at the moment. He's still keeping him within striking distance. Obviously Scott was on provisional pole for a lot of that qualifying session, but wasn't able to find a time on his final run. but it's clearly got pace around this Zandvoort circuit, so could be a big contender here tonight for the win. Trucky's got ahead of Rexy Boy. That's because Rexy Boy, I think, is missing his front wing. Yes, he is. So the VSC is deployed once again. No full safety car, just a VSC. So that's probably going to mean that we'll see Rexy Boy coming into the pits and losing a couple of places, not too many, because there's a couple of drivers who came in very early on, and pitting under the VSC will minimise the time loss significantly. And the safety car is out. Okay, right, well, I mean, my graphic in the top left hand corner is telling me it's a virtual, but that is unmistakably the safety car there, so I don't know. I mean, I have no words, but anyway, yeah, currently so Glenn is the race leader, and the safety car is about 4 corners behind him, which means he's got to do a full lap to catch up to it. And the race is paused. What? What the fuck? What? Okay. Just keep going. For fuck's sake. Here we are then, guys, on the restart, getting ready to go once again for the Dutch Grand Prix here at Purple Sector, with Glenn leading us away, ahead of Scott with Mark and T in hot pursuit right now as they come into turn 1 here on lap 6 of the race. As we've got a move potentially being shaped up there as a Truckee has moved up the inside of White Shadow Hull up into 8th place. We've got a safety car graphic back up on the screen. God, please, I hope that's not real. Well, I kind of hope it, well, I just want it to get off the screen basically. As White Shadows move back ahead of Truckee here, as these two continuing their battle. Truckee's keeping it around the outside here. These two are still side by side through the uphill section, and Truckee finally managed to get that move completed there, up into 8th place. So nicely done there from the Red Bull driver. The safety car graphic is still on the screen. But it's fine, I'm just going to compartmentalise it and pretend it's not there. So anyway, Glenn leads there by just over a second ahead of Scott. You got Mark there running in P3 at the moment. There's T ahead of Trauger, Matty Pitt and G.C. There's Truckee, White Shadow Justify running in P10 after some early calamities. We've got Street Boy there running wide and has been passed by Rexy Boy, who's up into P12. His teammate moving up a position there, but out of the last corner here to complete lap 7 of the race is Glenn, who has just over a second of a gap right now over Scott. There's Mark, who's falling off at the back of these guys a little bit. T and Drauger with Matty and G.C. quite close as we can see. Wow, look at this, we've got 3 wide in the background here as Justify trying to make a move. White Shadow there getting pinged off into the gravel as he was trying to defend his position. Justify up into 9th place. Rexy Boys right behind them as Street Boys moved ahead of C. Faulkner, and we've got another VSC because of the damage there to C. Faulkner's car, missing a front wing, and Street Boy they're moving up into 11th place as a result of that. White Shadow hole there getting pinged off into the gravel going into turn 1 was very unfortunate there. Hopefully he hasn't got too much underfloor damage, hopefully none at all, to be honest with you. But yeah, White Shadow hole down to 14th place in all that. C. Faulkner's going to have to come into the pits as well to get that front wing replaced. So we've got Mark coming into the pits here at the end of lap 8. Also T coming in as well as Matty, all under VSC. So they're going to get a little bit of an advantage here. Obviously less time loss in the pits under the safety car, the VSC. C. Faulkner's got done for a 10-second penalty there for speeding in the pits, which is going to be really a bit of a ball ache for him once we get to the end. So Matty's come in, so is Mark, C. Faulkner, John, as well as T. So these guys have mostly gone for the hards, although C. Faulkner's gone for the softs, which is a bit of a strange one. John's gone for the mediums. And I have a funny feeling this might actually be a full safety car, is it? Yes, it is. I can see we've got that yellow dot, that dreaded yellow dot once again.
So here we are back again for the Dutch Grand Prix as we see Glenn coming into the pits at the end of lap 10. So he's coming after basically staying out during both safety car periods, which is unusual. Maybe he's got a penalty. Let's just see what happens here as he comes into the box. We've just lost Mark and C. Faulkner from the race. I didn't see that happen, but Glenn, yeah, he's got a penalty. That's why he's come in so early, having started on the hard tyres, which is going to be very debilitating for him in this race. It might give Justify a bit of a, well, it's going to give him a lifeline here, because obviously with those two safety cars, he's really been handed a get out of jail free card, but also now the, well, Glenn's woes here in this race is definitely going to give Justify a massive opportunity here in this race and in this championship. Although he's currently 3 seconds off of the lead. Scott's still out in front. G.C. running in second place, about a second behind him. So at the moment, Scott, G.C. Justify the top three, but really mixed up order here. You've got Truckee running in fourth place, Rexy Boy driving a cracker, having already pitted as well, running in fifth place. Street Boy right behind his teammate there in sixth place. Matty Pitt right behind them, having pitted earlier a couple of laps ago, should I say, even with T also in the same position as Matty in eighth place behind these guys. So plenty to keep track of here at the moment as Rexy Boy's going to make a move down the inside. He goes into turn one as the bit of carbon fibre there going off one of the cars. There's his teammate looking to try and make the move also on the Red Bull of Truckee, and Truckee's trying to keep it around the outside, and look at that, Matty Pitt diving through, tried to make it through the gap, couldn't do it. Street Boy Street Boy stays in fifth place. Matty finally making that move there on Truckee, coming through the bank left-hander, and up into sixth place there goes Matty Pitt. But T now coming under pressure here, having just got ahead of Truckee as well. So Truckee moving, well, dropping down the order quite a bit there in all of that. He's been passed by three drivers in the last lap, so he's now on the back foot a little bit here. But the two Ferraris up into fourth and fifth places respectively. P5, come on, says Cameron. He's voicing his support here for Street Boy tonight, who is doing a phenomenal job so far, and he's got his teammate also really in the mix as well, although Matty will be looking to try and get involved here. Matty Pitt, the champion from 2 seasons ago, knows what it takes to string together some consistent races and win a few as well, to be fair to him. Oh, he's made a mistake there going out of the stadium section, and T there swoops around the outside. His former teammate here at Purple Sector. Oh no, as Street Boy's lost it there going to the final corner. He got wide there onto the grass coming out to the final banking, and it's lost out there to everybody. He's dropped down to 8th place. And he's in the pits as well here at the end of lap 13. As we see down the inside goes Matty Pitt. That was a late lunge there. And T managed to keep the momentum there around the outside. That was a close call there between those two. That was very close to tears there. Matty Pitt. It's not like him to make a lunge like that. I suppose when it's one of his friends like T, you might see a different Matty Pitt. That's not the Matty Pitt that I think you would have seen if it had been anyone else other than T. But that was a close call there between those two. But in the meantime, we've still got Scott out the front leading the race ahead of G.C. Justify is maintaining the gap to Scott and is currently closing in a little bit here on G.C. now. So Justify will be fancying a run at P2 here. Maybe the race win overall by the end of this race. He'll have his eyes set on Scott up the road. Only 3 seconds, so it's certainly going to be possible for him to have a chance here. And obviously with Glenn coming in for that penalty, that early pit stop as well, it's put him out of sync a little bit in terms of the strategies here. So could be a huge amount of points on the line here for Justify tonight, as Matty Pitt's got a penalty there for track limits. So he's now on the back foot a little bit, and he'll need to tread carefully from now until the checkered flag. As T there getting really close up onto the back of Rexy Boy through turn one, but just a little bit too far away. White Shadow in the meantime has moved ahead of Truckee, although Truckee's not done as they're battling it out. White Shadow squeezes him out to the edge of the track. Oh, and he gives him no space there at all, and they both get hampered a little bit, and the Haas car there of Drauger swoops around the outside of both of them up into P7. Lovely move there from Drauger. Saw the opportunity and just went for it. Balls to the wall around the outside. Wall of death around the outside of the left-hander, the bank left-hander. Lovely move there. And these two still tripping over each other there in 8th and 9th places at the moment, but White Shadow still ahead of the Red Bull at the moment. His teammate though up 2 places there. Lovely stuff. As we see the battle for the lead is now starting to heat up, because G.C. has closed back up onto Scott here. The gap well under a second right now, so this is now looking pretty tasty here, and G.C. will be fancying some of this. as we jump on board with the driver currently sat in second place at the moment. DRS will be open down the start finish straight. He's getting a little bit closer here down towards turn 1, a little bit too far away there into the first corner. There's Justify still running in P3. T is currently running close on the back of Rexy Boy, just a little bit too far away though into turn 1. He's going to try and get around the outside here. In the end, that's not going to work, not from that distance. He's got better tyres, as you could see with the traction he was able to get. Despite not getting the best drive through the corner, he was still got out of the corner quicker, but wasn't able to make the most of it really, as Matty waits in the wings behind these two at the moment. But Scott's still out the front, has the gap at about half a second right now. G.C. looking to pile on the pressure here. Both of these two still yet to pit in this race. Justifies quicker than both of them at the moment, running in third place. Has now got the gap down to 2.5 seconds to the race leader. So Justify's going to be in this fight soon. You can see him just there in the background of this one. But there is Scott and G.C. coming through the final couple of corners here on lap 16 of this Dutch Grand Prix, and it's still nip and tuck here between these drivers right now, as G.C. here with the DRS getting closer and closer and closer to the back of the leader, but too far away there into turn 1 for the time being. As we see T there looking to the outside now of Rexy Boy into turn 1, and that's job done there, beautifully done there from the McLaren driver. So T has managed to dispatch the driver, who's obviously has been on his tyres for a bit longer. T's got very nice tyres, and he is the net leader at the moment. Although he might have to pit an extra, might have to do an extra stop compared to these other guys, so he could be in a bit of a precarious position. But he's certainly done a fantastic job so far here as T. He'll come out ahead of Scott, G.C. and Justify when they come in. So he's really played a fantastic strategy so far in this one. Co-admin here at the Purple Sector F1 League alongside Matty Pitt. And hasn't won too many races, I don't think. I can't remember the last time I saw him win. I'm sure he has won a race or two, but I can't remember when the last one was. So I'm sure he'd be absolutely chuffed to bits if he were to stand on the top step of the podium here tonight. He's currently pushing like he really wants it here. This is a track that he clearly loves. I can't stand Zandvoort myself. It's the one track that I can't beat the AI on, no matter how hard I try. Well, actually, no, this one and Suzuka are the two tracks I just can't beat the AI on, no matter what. All the other tracks I can beat the AI on 105 AI. Those two tracks, this and Suzuka, for whatever reason can't do it. But T, I'm sure, certainly can. And he's currently running in 4th place. He's about 9 seconds off of the lead at the moment, so he will inherit P1 once the top 2 come into the pits, or top 3 should I say, come into the pits to make their first pit stops of the evening. Which is crazy, because T's been on these tyres for 9 laps, and his tyres are 8 laps fresher than this. Oh no, it's G.C. got loose there, and it's binned it into the wall. He's going to have big damage there on the car. Did he lose his front wing? He's certainly lost a bit of it, but I think he might have some of it intact still. So he's going to be dropping behind, well, he's dropped behind Rexy Boy and Matty Pitt now, and he's still ahead of Trauger, but he's missing the front left end plate, so he's going to need to get that in ASAP and get that replaced. He was coming up to the pit window anyway, so it's not going to be a massive loss, but he's still lost a good 10 seconds there. And obviously an extra sort of 5 for the limping round and for the front wing change. So yeah, all in all, probably about a 15-second loss there for G.C. He's just going to have to shake it off and get his head down, try and get over it here. But Drauga moving through up into P6 as G.C. comes into the pits. What a disaster there for G.C. Was running in a really, really strong second place there. That obviously pushes Justify up into P2. Now he can try and chase down Scott in this fight for the win. But G.C. off and away now, so yeah, really on the back foot now is G.C. There's the battle for the podium places now. T hasn't managed to shake off Rexy Boy or Matty Pitt. Rexy Boy's actually stuck to the task really well, considering the fact that he's on 5-lap older tyres and he's still on the back of T, but I think T might be about to shake him off here, because some of these corners here, the
fresher tyres are really going to be paying dividends. Saying that, Rexy Boy still within 7/10, so he's done really well over the course of this lap as Rexy Boy, and he's still very much in this mix here for the podium places. Matty with the penalty running in 5th place, so these guys ahead of him won't be too concerned over that. But Scott still out the front ahead of Justify, who's really closed the gap now that he hasn't got a car in between himself and the race leader, as T weaving around trying to break the toe here with Rexy Boy and Matty still in hot pursuit, but nothing doing with any of these guys at the moment. They're all as you were. Glenn, having been into the pits a few laps ago on his medium tyres, is now lining up. White Shadow to the inside he goes, and that's going to be a routine move here for Glenn up the inside. He's going to have much better traction out the first corner, and up into P7 he goes. So nicely done there from the reigning champion. But at the moment he's going to be losing a colossal amount of points to this man here, who is putting pressure on the race leader as we speak. Less than half a second separating these two at the moment, but Justify looking to potentially throw the kitchen sink here at the race leader Scott as they come down towards the stadium section once again. But he's a little bit too far away at the moment, is Justify. But he'll surely fancy a move coming down the start finish straight. He's extremely close here. If he can get a good exit here out this final corner, he's going to be right there. He's going to be pouncing. This is a foregone conclusion. He is well within striking distance, and he's going to be past him before we even get to the line. And in fact, Scott comes into the pits, so wasn't able to get the glory of an overtake. But Scott into the pits at the end of lap 20. Justify going a little bit longer. I don't know if he's going to go a lot longer or if he's going to go for the immediate cover. But Scott getting the undercut here. And should be able to maintain the lead as a result of that. But Justify, your new race leader, has got 8 seconds to T, but T will be the leader once Justify comes in. T will be hoping he can get a second gap to Rexy Boy before he becomes the race leader, and he can really feel like he's got the ascendancy here in this race. But T's currently in a very strong position right now. But he will more than likely have to pit again, because 27 laps on the hard tyres I think might be a bit much. But he'll be able to have fresher tyres on for the final stint, and that will certainly be something that I'm sure he'll appreciate. As Matty has now got a bit of a free shot here at Rexy Boy, because Rexy Boy's fallen out of the DRS to T. Now this is going to present Matty with a golden opportunity here to try and take 3rd place. So he'll come through the final corner here. Matty looking extremely close here. Through the final corner we go. He's going to make this move surely here on Rexy Boy, as he now gets DRS down the start finish straight. Here we go. Matty pit to the inside, and Rexy Boy can't defend that. Matty pit gains the position there on the inside of turn 1. As Justify into the pits, so is Drauger as well. Drauger had gone from the opening of the race to now, but has finally come in for what I assume is going to be his only stop of the race. But Matty now within a second of T, so with that DRS there on Rexy Boy, that's propelled him a little bit closer to his old teammate here. T currently the leader. Matty pit though. Oh, it's Matty! Did he lose? Oh, a bit of contact there between Matty and Rexy Boy, and they both lost time here to the leader there. There was a bit of a to-do there between the two of them, and they're still keeping it together for the time being. That was pretty tight there between those two, I have to say. I think Matty I think he might have got it wrong a bit there, and as a result they both had to back out of it a little bit, but they're still going without too many issues at the moment. And T still out the front, has this advantage here, but the likes of Scott and Justify are going to be reeling them in. And here comes T into the pits, so is Matty. So T gets to lead a lap, and now the leader's going to be Rexy Boy, who pitted early on. Didn't start the race on these tyres, but came into the pits at the end of lap 3, and as a result, and now picks up the lead. He's 5 seconds ahead of Scott, who is the net race leader, having got the undercut here on he was already leading the race, but he's maintained the lead as a result of that undercut. So this is the battle for the win here between Scott and Justify. The gap just over a second at the moment. It's pretty tight for the time being. This is still race on here between these two. Rexy Boy still out the front, but the gap that Rexy Boy's got out the front is absolutely plummeting, with the fact that he's been on these tyres for 19 laps and the other two behind him have been on their tyres for 1 and 2 laps respectively. In the meantime, it looks like Clen is eyeing up his next victim here, as he's got John right in front of him. Clen put these tyres on a couple of laps ago, came in for a pit stop, didn't actually see him come in. In fact, he's now gone around the outside of John with a beautiful move there. Is that going to give DRS to John? It does, but it doesn't matter because John's lost a bit of momentum there, and has lost out to G.C. as well. So G.C. there up into 8th place, John down 2 places there, down to 9th. But Clen with a beautiful move there around the outside, I have to say. Is G.C. now going to try and stick with Clen for these next few laps and maybe give him a fight in this final stint? G.C. might be able to get those medium tyres to the end. It'll be quite an achievement if he does, but it's possible. But you'd have to be very, very kind to them over the course of the next 13 laps. He's already done 5 laps on them, so it might be a bit of a stretch. He might have to come in for one more stop here. But in the meantime, the 2 guys battling for the win are on the back of Rexy Boy, who's still got to pit again in this race. He's not going to be able to go to the end on these hard tyres, as Drauga's out of the race. So that's another retirement here. So we're now down to 11 drivers. We obviously started with 16, but we've had 5 retirements here from this one, so that's not what you want really, is it? In fact, no, 10 drivers, sorry, because that was actually, he wasn't at the bottom of the leaderboard there. So yeah, Drauga out of the race, which is a real shame here, because yeah, a good qualifying. Nonetheless, we've got Scott here making a move to the outside of Rexy Boy for the lead of the race, and Justify's going to try and follow him through here. Around the outside goes Justify. Is this job done? It is. So Justify up into 2nd place and doesn't lose any time there to his rival for this race win. That was crucial there. Justify got ahead of Rexy Boy at the same time that Scott did. Otherwise, that would have been a severe amount of time lost there for Justify and gain for Scott. As in the meantime, we've got Matty Pitt closing up onto the back of T in this fight for 4th place. And Scott and Justify still battling here over the lead of the race. Matty there with a 3-second penalty for track limits. He's currently got a bit of a gap back to Clen, although Clen is going to be chasing him down in these final few laps. I'll be surprised if Clen isn't able to at least be on the back of him by the end. Though Matty's tyres should be quicker for the moment, but towards the end I think Clen's tyres will be in much better shape. But here are the 2 leaders coming over the line, and Justify. Well, look at that straight line speed that the RB's got, and breezes past Scott like he's not even there. Up into the lead of the race he goes. The V-carb there just seemed to have light years of pace over that Mercedes as it breezed past down the start finish straight. But Scott's going to be still right there. You know that for a fact. The race is far from over yet. Just because Justify breezed past him with DRS 1 lap doesn't mean that Scott can't do the same thing the next lap. But one driver who is certainly on the cards for a podium here tonight is T, running in P4 at the moment. Obviously Rexy Boy is surely going to pit again. If he doesn't, he's going to get a puncture. So T is currently on course for a podium as things stand. He's got his old teammate Matty Pitt about a second behind him, but Matty with a penalty, so shouldn't be a threat to T. That'd be a great result for T if he can carry on what he's doing at the moment. As the gap here has just creeped over a second between Justify and Scott, although Scott's got DRS here on down the start finish straight. So here are the two leaders currently, Justify and Scott. Only a second apart at the moment, so it's looking pretty tight between these drivers for the time being. But Justify does appear to have a slight pace advantage at this stage in the race anyway. But is he pushing his tyres a bit too much? Maybe Scott, if he's looking after him a bit better, might get a second win towards the end. But certainly for the time being, it's looking like the advantage is with Justify. And he needs this. He needs a win tonight. Because Glenn running in P6, this is a golden opportunity. Although Matty has got a 3-second penalty, which might give him a chance towards the end. Rexy Boy finally into the pits and putting the soft tyres on for the final 9 laps, which could be said as a bit risky. This track I don't think is too kind to the softs. I wouldn't have thought those bank corners and long sweeping medium to high speed sections would be too kind to the softs in race trim, but fair enough. Okay, good luck. But yeah, not too much going on really at the moment, if I'm perfectly honest with you. We've got Justify just gradually extending the gap over Scott. T's got a second to Matty, so Matty might be able to give us a fight here for the podium places. That could be one to watch here between these two rivals. Street Boy now towards the end of the pits and back out onto the circuit there in what is now the final point. So everyone here is going to score a point. John currently on course for 2 points here tonight as things stand here in this race. And T keeping the gap to Matty at the moment at just over a second. So Rexy Boy's moved ahead of G.C. up into P6. And Justify still extending the gap over Scott by quite a bit at the moment. Over 3 seconds now, so Justify's really dropped the hammer in the last few laps. Glenn running in P5, could be on for P4 by the end if he can reel in Matty pit in the final few laps of the race. And T currently on course for a podium place here at Purple Sector. So Matty seems to have closed back up onto T a little bit here. Gap now 0.6 of a second. He seems to be bringing himself into this fight a bit more, obviously with the penalty, but still I think there's going to be a bit of pride at stake here between these two. Matty's not going to want to let this one go. T's not going to wave him by just because Matty's got a penalty either. So I reckon this is going to be quite a contentious fight here between these two admins here at Purple Sector. Obviously know each other pretty well, and what's going to transpire here? Matty's just lost a bit of time here through the first sector. Is he going to keep it within DRS? I don't think he is. I think T might have just broken free of that 1 second barrier. So Matty's going to have to do it the hard way here. He's got good straight line speed, bringing him a little bit closer into the stadium. That'll give him a chance to maybe have DRS down the straight. So he is now within a second. So as long as he can keep himself close through these couple of corners here, he'll have a chance down the straight. Let's see what the gap is. It is under a second, so Matty will get a helping of the rear wing this time around. But is it going to be enough to get him close? He's getting a little bit closer down into turn 1, but a little bit, well, I'd say a big bit too far away to have a chance of making a move there into turn 1. Has allowed him just to put T under a bit more pressure though in this little battle here for third place. Gap at the front between Justify and Scott is continuing to extend. Justify has just got on his horse and ridden off in the final stint. Nearly 7 seconds now. The gap is going up all the time. Every time you look at it, it's gone up by a few tenths. It's quite incredible the pace that Justify's had in this final stint. G.C.'s coming into the pits at the end of lap 31. I said earlier on that those medium tyres, there's no way they were going to get to the end. So he's come in to put a fresh set of the Red Wolves on, which should yield, I'm pretty sure, the fastest lap of the race, you would think. We lost Street Boy a couple of laps ago, so that means that John will now score 4 points in P8. G.C. will get 2 points for his troubles here tonight. So that's another driver who's crashed out. Lap 33 of the race. He's crashed out at the third to last corner. I can see on the map he's just now been cleared, so he's alright. So yeah, he crashed out at the corner after the stadium. Basically, like just after the stadium chicane, he's then crashed out on the left-hander after that. So he must have hit the wall on the exit of the corner or something. But yeah, that's Rexy Boy gone here with just 3 laps left in the race. It was so nearly there. But Matty still keeping T on his toes right now in this fight for third place. Also, one to watch is John and G.C. This is for 7th place. G.C. hunting him down. He'll be all over him in a few corners time on those fresh soft tyres. John on those worn mediums. It's going to be practically no contest there between those two in a second. Matty still within DRS of T. I think a little bit too far back to mount a challenge really of any ingenuity. We've got G.C. within half a second of John at the moment in the fight for P7 as they sweep through this fast section. And John there, look at that, the tyres making an enormous difference there. G.C. passing John in a part of the track where if they had the same tyres on, same tyre age, then that is not an overtaking spot in a million years. But down to the fact that the cars or the tyres were just on a completely different wavelength there. G.C. managing to breeze past like he was absolutely nothing. And up into 7th place he goes as a result of that. That's the thing with the Pirelli tyres, the deltas you can get such a massive gulf in performance between compounds at different ages of their, or at different stages of their wear. And yeah, we saw that for sure there with G.C. making his way through without any issues whatsoever. Matty Pitt still on the back of T in the fight for third place as they come through the final couple of corners here. And we'll be starting the penultimate lap in a second. But Matty's just dropped off of him a little bit again over the last lap or so. As we see John into the pits here. So he's going, I assume, for the fastest lap, I would think. But currently on course for a P8, so he'll get some good points here tonight, will John? Sure, he'll be pretty happy with that to get this one to the flag, considering how many didn't. And Matty here, with a lap and a half left to go, is still all over the back of T in this fight for the podium places. But T, I think, has got this one in hand. Matty very wide there, got a bit out of shape. Didn't lose too much time though as a result. and he's still right on the back of his fellow admin here at the Purple Sector F1 League. So race leaders coming over the line to start the final lap is Justify. Just one tour of Zandvoort to go, and it will be another win here this season, and he'll be gaining 15 points in the championship over his rival Glenn. So finally, some good luck here for Justify tonight. It looked like it was going to be a continuation of this terrible run of form he's been on earlier on in the race when he got a drive through for speeding under the VSC, but then Glenn got a 10-second penalty, had to come into the pits and serve that in the pit stop. Also, because he had damage, he had to come in for an unscheduled stop, I think, which led him to obviously be out of sync in terms of the strategy, and forced him to do a longer stint than he would have liked. But nonetheless, Justify has managed to make the most of this opportunity, which looked like it was going to go begging here tonight. Scott did a fantastic job in qualifying, led a lot of the race, but in this final stint has not had an answer to this driver here in the Visa Cash App V-Carb. He's going to come into the final corner here, is Justify, and now take the plaudits here at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix for Purple Sector Season 15. Justify over the line to take the victory here tonight at Zandvoort with a dominant display in that final stint, was heads and shoulders above everybody else on those medium tyres, as Scott's going to come around the final corner here to take a second place in the end, which I'm sure he won't be too upset about. T over the line in third place on the podium tonight is T. I'm sure he'll be absolutely delighted with that. Matty Pitt over to take fourth place in the end, ahead of Glenn, who gets fourth on the penalties. So Justify gains 13 points, not 15 points on Glenn, and Glenn fourth, Matty Pitt fifth. It's a big gap to the next driver. White Shadow Hull is going to bring it home for a P6 here tonight. That is a fantastic result. Just goes to show, in some races, especially around this track, where things can go awry, if you're in the right place at the right time, if you get yourself to the flag in one piece, then you can absolutely reap the benefits here. White Shadow Hull over the line to take home sixth place here tonight. G.C. is going to come over the line in seventh, a little way behind, and John is going to be the last driver to finish. In fact, he's already finished a lap down there, so John in eighth place, and they were the only 8. So a great night of action here at Purple Sector, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in as always, and we'll be back on Thursday night as always for the Italian Grand Prix here at Purple Sector, 8 PM UK time. So make sure you tune in if you're interested in seeing what happens next. To the drivers who watch this back afterwards, hopefully you enjoyed, and if you did, then I'm glad. But yeah, we'll see you all very soon. Take it easy, and good night.